Imagine you found yourself surrounded under attack by an angry mob. Or imagine you were falsely accused of a serious crime. You were arrested and you found yourself standing in front of the judge while all these people are making all these accusations against you. And you know the judge has the power to sentence you to 20, maybe 30 years, maybe life in prison. How would you respond? Would you defend yourself? And what if in defending yourself, you put someone else in danger? What would it take for you to remain silent? Hi, I'm Jennifer Slattery with the Faith Over Fear podcast and also the Your Daily Bible Verse podcast. And sometimes the crucifixion story can become overly familiar to me. And so much so that I fail to really sit in and reflect upon what Christ endured for me and for you. And so it's very helpful when I just kind of skim over it, when it becomes just another familiar story, another mark on my calendar. I fail to receive the blessing of really understanding, of contemplating the depth of his love and grace for me. And in contrast, when I sit and I really put myself in the moment and I seek to understand what it was like for Jesus Christ, the last hours of his life, it helps me to gain a deeper understanding of his heart, of who he is at his core. And I'm particularly struck by all the times he remained silent. When he kept his power, he had all the power of heaven at his fingertips. When he kept his power constrained in order to bring salvation to you and I. And in Matthew 26, when he was arrested, we learn that a large number of armed men came to arrest him. And maybe they were expecting like the masses and people to be in an uproar. And one of Jesus's disciples pulls out his sword and he cuts off one of their ears. And Jesus replies by saying, this is Matthew 26, verse 52, "Put your sword back in its place, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword." And then he says in verse 53, "Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels?" And just imagine being one of the angels in heaven, watching the Son of God, who you saw in all his glory before he came to earth and put on human flesh, watching him endure all of this, watching him get beaten and flogged and then crucified, watching him in front of the Sanhedrin, the religious leaders, remain silent under their attack, watching him remain silent as Pilate, the governor of Judea, is questioning him. And why did he do that? He did that for you and I. Because he was not willing that any word that he spoke would alter this path that he chose to take, to bear our sins upon himself, to die on the cross, to break the power of sin in our lives, to break the power of evil and darkness, and to rise again victorious, so that you and I, when we live in alignment with him, when we follow after him as best as we're able, so that we can experience freedom and victory as well. And I invite you today maybe to sit in Matthew 26 of when he was arrested, or you can also reflect upon Isaiah 53, which kind of consolidates what Jesus experienced and how he responded, and reflect upon his heart. Like, just read it. As you read it, say, "Lord, help me to grasp your heart for me." And as you do, it is my prayer that you understand who he is at his core in a deeper way than ever before, and that you understand his heart for you, his beloved, in a deeper way than ever before, and that you come to see his grace, especially in those places where maybe you feel ashamed, where you feel like maybe your sin or your regrets are too big for his grace. Reflect upon his response in Matthew 26, knowing that he had the legions of armies, of heaven's armies at his fingertips, and yet he went to the cross. And recognize, so hold your sin there in light of the cross, this massive power of heaven, and let the grace of the cross overshadow, completely wipe out your shame.